For the latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Sending you a bit of a review video on a brand new driveway awning from Dometic. So with me here today I've got the Dometic Rarotonga DA or Driveaway 401 sort of left-handed model. So it's worth mentioning that essentially what kind of Dometic have really done is took a range that a tent, for example, and made it into a driveway awning. So we've got the same specifications that we've kind of known and loved with kind of the Rarotonga we've seen for the last few years. But going forward, we actually got a really nice sort of very high spec driveway awning. It's worth mentioning at this point it's available in two different fabrics. So you can have it in this really nice 150 denier polyester material, or of course go for the polycotton, i.e. the TC fabric, technical cotton. So you get a choice of materials or what you want to go for, and this is really kind of top end for driveway awnings. It's all about necessarily tons of features, tons of specification, and almost irregardless of price to a certain extent. It's the fine details that really kind of see why you pay what you pay for. That's one thing I will certainly say. You know, it's not the cheapest by any stretch of imagination, but from the level of details you get and the functionality, I think it works well. And you know, at the end of the day, like I think, you pay what you get. So for those who aren't familiar with kind of Dometic, they are sort of previously formerly as Camper, and I in many ways feel this is much like the old traditional touring that they did back in 2020. It was something that was renowned, and it was, for me, was probably one of the best driveway awnings at that point in that section, just because it had so much functionality, flexibility, and obviously features. Now, Larry on 4 years down the line, all things are a little bit different, but it's almost like a throwback to that degree. And I think it's something I've certainly wanted to do for a little while, just because I feel really it's what the touring in its old form used to be the best part of it. So this is a new modern twist on it. Really nice and options. So you've obviously got your two choices of fabrics. You've also got your two choices of tunnel size. So you either go for the left hand, as I got here, or the right hand. That refers to which way kind of when you come out the tunnel, or which base of the side of the tunnel is. So as you look down directly at it, whether the tunnel is on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. So your left-hand side is going to be for pretty much 90% of the UK market. When you're driving, your sliding door is on your passenger side, whereas the right hand is more for the continental market, or if you've got a VW California, where your sliding door is on your right-hand side, i.e. your driver's side. So that way it means the front faces the same way as the van does. Immediately you can put it alternatively, so if you're like your sort of tailgate and you want to create more of an air around there, then put your left hand on the driver's side and then your right hand on your passenger side. That way the tunnel faces directly back and you can create a little sort of section. One of the joys is because the tunnel faces exactly and your whole awning faces the same way the van does, it means that when you're on the campsite you're looking at the view rather than your neighbour's pitch. Typically when you tend to be lined up, that's what you kind of really want to go for. So as we've got here, I've got it in the left hand and in the polyester material. So everything we're going to go through this video is the same for all of the range, just you obviously pick and choose your fabric. Now, the first thing is, why would you go for the polyester over the polycotton? Polyester is a bit cheaper, quicker to dry, a bit lighter in terms of weight, it's about 35 kilograms, whereas if you go for the polycotton, it's definitely more meant for sort of warmer climates, or if you want less condensation. The joys of the polycotton is the breathability to it. So on a warm day, the fabric itself will expand, allow air pass through. So on a cold, it'll be cooler inside on a warm day, but also be hotter inside on a cold. So it reacts best with both worlds. Naturally, it's more money. I use the term a little bit more high maintenance, that you've got to make sure it's bone dry when it's packed away for good. You wouldn't want to leave it in a bag wet more than 48 hours because it's going to be very cotton based, so its mold and mildew is really going to start to kind of creep into it. But naturally it is a little bit heavier and bulkier, but it's breathable, nice material, it's quieter and windy, you haven't got sort of synthetic flapping noising. Runs around about 43 kilograms, so it's about 20% heavier than its polyester counterpart in the same awning. And once you go polycotton, you never go back. You do pay for it, so you've got to kind of weigh up whether you want to go for high-end spec and don't mind a bit more extra bulk. For me, I think for the UK, we can just about get away with the polyester. When we go to kind of polycotton, sort of more mainland Europe, or if you want that more comfortable fabric, then yeah, that's the way to go. But of course, you can always have a conversation with us as and when you see you go. Very quick and easy to pitch. I pitched the Rarotonga Driveway on my own in precisely about 13 minutes, which means it's great for sort of those weekend trips or also for those longer stays as well. The front is open as we can see here, but you can buy an optional what they call a vestibule, which essentially is an enclosure for it, and they also make a mesh version as well, so you have the option of obviously enclosing it to have this whole front space sort of completely away from the wind and the rain, have the ventilation with the mesh, or if you want to make it bigger, there is a canopy you can buy. So for the new 23 season going forward, we've got this new grey material. Now, the old Rarotonga in the tent form is like in a green material. All the panels will still fit. To whether actually Dometic will bring out a grade version of the vestibule, I don't know, or the canopy, probably in the pipeline, but certainly not for initially, but it's something to keep your eye on, but it's a nice little function you can add to it. Because it's inflatable, each beam is done individually, so you can start sort of in the middle point and work your way out, so again, makes that idea of it being nice, simple and easy to pitch. You've got specifications in terms of webbing straps all the way around the sort of awning to give it the best amount of stability as possible. Not only have you got it on the front and the back, but on the sides. And what they kind of use is Dometic's one-point pitching point, which means you peg the guide point, which pegs inversely the base, and the guide point in one go. So it means one less peg to worry about along the bottom, and makes it a little bit easier. And then you can still kind of tension it as you go. The bottom is fixed, so it means you always get the right distance away, but then you obviously tension it depending on how much lean you've got going on. In theory, it's kind of almost like a free-zoned awning. So you've got your open canopy area, your main kind of living area, and there's a bedrooms area included as standard. There's actually a rear storage section, which we'll come to a bit later on in the video as we look around the back. But again, that gives you a whole different level, and you can obviously remove the bedroom if you wanted to. Really lovely crystal clear windows throughout the actual awning to get plenty of lights in. And when we're looking at the main body, there's also zip-up curtains. 3 doors directly into the actual awning itself. You've got the main front door, as you can see there. There's one in the tunnel section to the van, and then one opposite, as we were talking about here. All 3 doors have mesh panels built into it. So the joys of it is you can have the airflow directly in. It means a light on necessarily at night, and then yet bugs aren't coming directly in itself. But one thing I do like, which you don't see always as well, is all of the doors also, well, the front and side door have window panels to them. It's then zip curtains. That means that even when it's on a rainy day, you can still get visibility and light in without having to worry about a nice blank panel. And that's something you don't really see that often with kind of driveway awnings and such. Other things to mention is when you kind of roll back all of the extra bits, rather than having kind of a little bit of elasticated loop and then a toggle, you've actually got a proper nice buckle. So you've got a little webbing strap with a little buckle like you get on a rucksack. So it means you can adjust it out fully, close it, and tension it to keep it all at base. So you shouldn't, even if you're not the best at rolling it up, again, it's a nice little detail. Other little details are even the zip pullers, for example. I've got these little kind of Toblerone kind of style things with the Dometic detail in it. Makes it easier, even if your hands aren't the best, or your gloves on for that matter, to get in and out. Other things to mention as well is we've got this kind of, to create this rear storage section at the back here, we've got these aluminium poles located at the back here. Helps increase the height at the back, meaning that you aren't losing a load of space to an extra bit of drop down. But again, we'll give a bit more of a look at that when we go on the inside in just a moment. Final things to mention from the outside point of view is we've got two tunnel doors, so it means you can enter from the front of the awning or the back of the awning into the van directly without going through the main body of the awning, which is quite nice. Comes in one standard height, so it's available from a 180 to a 210, which is going to fit 99% of kind of sort of small little VW transit vans. If you've got a motorhome, unfortunately, it's not going to work, or even like what I call a panel van with a big sliding door, like a Fiat Ducato base. Again, that's not really going to work as well. It's more meant for the VW kind of market. But we'll look in terms of a bit later on in the video when we come to it, the connections and fittings and options, you can look at that as well. But for the time being, what we'll do, let's swing the camera around, get a look inside the actual awning and talk for a load more features that the Rarotonga Driveaway has to offer. So now on the front of the Rarotonga, you can kind of probably appreciate for the canopy itself. Now, we're looking around, the main body width is about 3 meters wide, so it's a decent sort of width, and the overall from front to the very back is about 6 meters and 5 centimeters, so just over 6 meters. So it's a good sort of size, and the joys is actually you're not really coming any further away from the van, you're just utilising space along the van. hence with having this kind of side profiles becoming more and more popular. I mentioned obviously the ability to enclose the front as well, and it's worth mentioning that actually all the attachments on the front of it are physical zip, so it feels like part of the actual awning rather than being an add-on that doesn't really quite work. But height-wise in here, due to the very boxy nature of the shape of it, again means that even when it's only 3 meters wide, I can stand up literally dead in the corner really quite nicely, so it feels really quite spacious, and the tubes are a good sort of strength. Slightly oversized as well, just to take that additional extra strength. And you're looking around about 10 psi per tube, just to get it really up to pressure, make sure it's really nice and firm. The front doors we see here, we've got 2 windows either side of the door to get the visibility into, and we've got those curtains as well, which are zipped up. The main door, as mentioned on the outside, is also still, you've got your window panel in there, so you still get visibility on those rainy days, but you've got your mesh panel located behind it, and a little top vent panel up here as well. So what it allows you to do is, like I said, have that bug barrier for when you're on the campsite. Everything has its own individual kind of sort of webbing points that you can obviously toggle it back to. And the ground sheet, when you walk in any of the doors, be it the left-hand door, the front door, or the right door, kind of as I look at it here, you've got this zip up, zip down ground sheet. So it rises up, so you can zip it up like so. So you get that sort of bug barrier to keep the dogs in. It then velcros to the panels itself, to the front or to the mesh panel, just to give you that extra bit of seal, make sure the bugs really can't get in. Or failing that, when you want it to obviously drop down, you can drop it down, peg directly through it, so then you haven't got a trip hazard coming into the awning anywhere. So again, the dog's not coming through. When we're talking in the main body, it's quite a small, compact bit here. Really, you can probably get a table and a couple of chairs. And again, if you also want to utilise more internal space, the bedroom, which comes as standard with the awning itself, you can obviously take down half it or remove it and just use it for internal space, or of course, then create more space out the front here as well. Curtains all fold away into a really nice little neat pocket down the bottom here, but because they're zipped, it gives you the option to kind of almost have them halfway up to get a little bit of coverage, or of course, fully up for when you want the ultimate amount of privacy. Very easy to roll down. There's a really generous pocket down there, and you get a little button press studs, so you just press it into place, so you're not having to get into feed for a toggle, nice and easy to use. And those same press studs you will also find located pretty much on all the beams, so if you had like a cable coming directly into the awning, you can then feed it like for a lantern up through the roof section and hang it from a really nice little metal carabiner located on here. It's the small little details that kind of help to create why you pay what you do for it. So all this extra workmanship does actually cost, but for those who don't want to compromise on anything, it works really quite nicely. Also, what you can utilize is kind of Dometic's electric sort of Saber link light. So it's the flexible one that has little Velcro stitched in here, so you can place them in here. You can have up to a starter and then a couple of add-ons. So in theory, you can have a light all 3 beams in your main living area on one single remote control on one power point. So it means you can alter the brightness and just control your kind of evening environment. The 4-berth bedroom comes as standard with the actual tent, so it's split with a 2 and a 2. There's a zip divider between the 2 sections, so you can have it as one big open 4-berth if you really want to. For me, like I said, I would almost take down half it and just utilise a 2-berth bedroom, and then leave this for extra bit of storage if you really wanted to. Storage pockets located in the front of the bedroom, again, to help declutter the main part of the actual awning itself. And you've got this actually little kind of baffle palmet. It's designed just to kind of make it look a little bit smarter. I mean, you don't necessarily see all these hanging points dangling down like such. It's worth mentioning the carabiner and the little button clips are located on the first beam, second beam, and the front beam, so all of them have the exactly same thing. And a little bit later, well, in fact, let's get the camera inside now actually. We'll kind of get a bit more closer look on some of these features, just to give you a bit more of a better understanding of it all. So you can probably actually see at this point how the width is really quite nice, good sort of size width, and then the little toggle points that I was mentioning previously are located sort of here with the button clips going directly down, as we can see there. There's a ground sheet supplied as standard for the front section, which personally, if you've not got this front area enclosed, I wouldn't recommend putting down, just because any wind and rain is going to collect on there and it's going to then track directly into your lovely clean space where you've got that sewn in ground sheet. As previously mentioned, the front door drops down, the side door drops down, and the other side door also drops down, and we've got that mesh located in there quite nice and neatly. Now the bedrooms are a slightly darker tint, as you can see from the camera just adjusting. So you've got little storage pockets located down the side here, again to help declutter your main living area. You can also buy a wardrobe holder if you really wanted to that clips into the bedroom, located at the top here, just to have for hanging rails or for clothing, whatever you want to do with it. And it's, the divider, like I said, it zips completely out, so it feels like a separate divider to one another, but you have the flexibility of opening up when you wanted to. And there's a rear storage section which I've got closed here, but we'll come next door. Ta-da! So, actually want to go inside then? Or it could be potentially a dog bed. So it's a great way to sort of declutter the main part of the actual awning itself. But as you can see kind of here, there's plenty of space. You've got little ventilation points located at the back. But again, you've got a lot of height in here, so it's actually quite surprising when you're in here, utilising. What this actually allows you to do is that means that when you have beds in place, even be it camp beds, they can be quite high at the back here. So you've got all this extra space. You can always drop down this extra section at the back and utilise that extra internal space. And that's what helps with obviously the poles at the back, as well as kind of give you really nice options. Little storage pocket for the bedroom front door to go into, so it keeps it nice and neat and tidy, and you haven't got to worry about you know, the extra of rolling it all down and having it in a big long sausage down the side. As we come into the tunnel section, the tunnel width when it connects onto the van is 2.5 meters, so it's enough so that you can actually open your sliding door fully within the tunnel, so it keeps it really quite nice and neat. And then you've got 2 doors, like I said, either side to allow you to have access to the van. Extra points here to adjust so you can really get it looking sharp and make sure that tunnel's not sort of flapping around. And there's 4 little details I do quite like is there's an extra bit of elasticated cord that runs directly through the main part of the tunnel to the ground, so you can get that tunnel looking sharp. And there's also an extra kind of baffle part, so you can get that around the wheel arch, for example, and again try and get as close as fit as possible to the actual van itself. And again, because you've got a nice high, you've got not going to have any risk of water pooling down there, because you've also got a good amount of space located directly there. As we kind of look through the tunnel on the side, you can see how really smartly that fits and what was designed to sort of pull off there as well. Now, you've got different attachment methods you can go for. So there's some straps that come as standard, which clip onto here and can be thrown over the top of the back of the van itself. You can go into the rail like you have here with a 6mm beading. You've got your 4mm beading as well, and then you've also got your pole and clamp kit, or even Velcro tabs. So if you've got roof bars, again, you can also Velcro that directly on. You've also got this little Velcro noted on here. So like I said, when we talk about details, it works really well. So there's an extra bit of fold fabric. So if this was to fold up for any reason, you'd fold that in half like a little sandwich, and it would kind of keep everything kind of really quite nicely at bay. But I'll tell you what, let's have a little wander around it, just again to get a bit more of an idea about kind of the Rarotonga. Like I said, it's a decent sort of size tent, and arguably, to be honest, you could really utilise this as a tent, because that's exactly what it's designed for. You just leave the tunnel section rolled back, so if you don't want to necessarily take the van out for a spin, you can leave it quite nice and neatly. And there's little aluminium poles which you insert afterwards that go directly in, but again, you've still got all your tension points to get it looking really sharp, and then you've got 4 webbing straps on the back, again to make it really kind of taut as you want to. And you can see that back section there as well, how that necessarily works. So there's really a lot of talking points with kind of the Rarotonga Driveaway. Certainly one, I think, like I said, for those who want the best spec possible, the most flexibility possible, and it's those little details, as I've kind of mentioned throughout this video, be it the buckle, webbing buckles, the metal hanging points, the Velcro button clips, the mesh doors on all 3 sides, drop-down doors on all 3 sides, bedroom storage, rear storage. So there's loads and loads of little things here and there that kind of obviously do add on to the price, but you do pay for what you get. So overall, I think it's really quite a nice model. Something that's worth seeing in the flesh. What we tend to probably do is probably have the tent version on display. It's basically the same, like I said, in every single way, just without the side tunnel itself, and you get an extra side door. But it's a really good basis to work on, and a great one to compare and contrast, be it all with the polycotton material or the normal polyester. But by all means, let us know what you think of the product as well. It's always great to have feedback from you as well, whether you like it, whether you think it needs any tweaking, whether you prefer the new grey colour over the green. It's always great to have great feedback from you, or negative for that point. So for more information on things like pack sizes, floor dimensions, weights, individual features, you can check the link below this video, take you straight through a website where we've all information there at a touch of a button, excuse me, as well as obviously the prices of the normal TC, left hand, right hand, and all the other bits to go with it, as well as that pitching and packing video of myself putting it up. But that is kind of a video review. Sorry for what's gone on for quite a long time, but there's a lot to talk about, a lot to get through, and a lot to like really about the brand new Dometic Rarotonga Driveaway, or D/A 401, and then obviously the polyester or the TC model available. So thank you very much for watching, and hopefully we shall see you again soon.